Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a 2003 Barbie Special Winter Edition makeup. So earlier today I did nick myself when I was shaving my face, so I did bleed a little bit on my nose, but we're not going to let that stop the video, so let's keep going. So the first thing we're going to do is brush back our brows, and we're going to fill in our eyebrows. Next, we're going to take our concealer and we're going to apply the product to the back of our hands, take a flat concealer brush, and apply it under our brows. So when we do this to just create a shape of your brows. There's nothing really special about it. You just follow the natural design of your brows, like I say in all my other videos. And now I'm doing the next side. So as you see, when I apply the concealer, it sort of shapes out the design of the brows and how I want it to look. Next, for the top, we are going to use a color tint or a foundation closest to our skin tone to shape out the top of our eyebrows. So I'm still using that same concealer brush, but I'm using a color that's closer to my shade to apply it to the top. Next, you see that little gap between, there's so much space, and the product, we want to make it look seamless, so we're going to fill in that gap with the products. Next, we're going to go in with a powder. Apply it to the top and the bottom of your brows. Apply it, yes, all over the brows. So we want to get rid of any excessive sheen or oil, so we just powder our brows and where we applied the concealer. We're also going to apply powder on top of the eyelids and under the eyebrows, because that's also where we applied our concealer. And we're just making sure that everything is covered. We have little creases in our eyelids, so when we apply powder, it fixes that little issues that we have. Now we're going to go in with this lightest, I guess like a baby purple, like a lavender, but it's very light, so like a pastel purple. And we're going to, it doesn't have to be perfect, we're just going to outline a line that that has a curve. I don't know how to describe it, but follow your eye shape and create a outline of it. And the line is going to be dragged out to where the tail end of your brows is. So I'm going back and forth, and I'm just, creating a, almost like it's like a shape, a line with a shape. I don't know how else to explain it, but just, keep watching, you'll figure it out. So we're creating an outline on both of the eyes. After this, we're going to take a smudging brush, and we are going to smudge out that same lavender or pastel purple under the eyebrows. So the first one was like a rough draft, just the outline, a messy outline. This one is more of the work. We're going to continue following how we had the outline, but we're just going to apply more product and smudge it out more under our eyebrows. And we're doing it to the next side. So we're going back and forth, back and forth. Now we're going to go in with a brown, it's like a, I don't know, like a darker brown. Not a black, but brown. And right under that purple, that pastel purple, you're going to apply the brown right under that purple. And we're just going to follow the same outline. So this brush that I used is, it's very small and pointed. I don't know what's the correct name for it, but if you could take a screenshot of it, you can, look it up on your own. But I used the brown, and I'm just following the same purple, but with brown. So this is going to create like a definition. Now we're doing it to the next eye. So I create like small strokes because I'm concentrating very intensely. And the brown, I make sure to bring it to where the front, so you know where the beginning of the eyebrows is, I make sure to bring that brown around the same area too. Now with that same smudging brush, we're going to smudge out that brown. I know it makes absolutely no sense, but follow it. So you're gonna have that brown and we're gonna smudge it out. So we're smudging it out first so it creates a not a harsh line. Yeah, and then now we're going to go in with that same brown and we're going to reapply that brown where we smudged it out with the brush. So first I used it to, you know, make blend it out, and then next I went back with that same brown to reapply it on top. But I do all of this just to create definition. Now that lid, the lid space, we're going to use a white, and we're going to apply the white with a concealer brush, a flat square concealer brush, and apply the white on top of the eyelids. So this product for some reason is really like powdery, so I had to go back and forth to reapply the white, but it still comes out, you know, pretty decent. So just bear with me with that. So we're just gonna cover the lid of our eye right under that brown. Cover the whole entire lid with white. So when I'm doing this, I do like small strokes, and I try very carefully not to, you know, cross the brown or go up into the purple. I just, you know, stay under the brown. And when I get close to the brown, I don't go too heavy. I do light so it doesn't, you know, get really messy. So like I said, I'm just going back and forth with the white to intensify the white on the eyelids. Next, for the other eye, I'm doing the same process of just applying the white on top of the lids. And where that beginning of that brown is, I apply the white. Here I'm praying to the makeup gods because, you know, I'm about to apply the liquid eyeliner, and this is such a big deal and I want it to come out perfect, like, you know. So for this style, her liner actually goes up, so it's not going like straight across, but it's going up. And I applied the liner towards the ending of my eyelid. I applied the liner going up. Excuse me, I don't know. Now for the beginning of the eyelid, I also applied the liner to the inner of the eyelid, on the top eyelid, the inner duct, the crease right there. Yeah, we're gonna apply liner all over there. And for the liquid eyeliner, like I said, I just follow the natural design of the eye, and I take small breaks and small strokes. Here I'm just like, you know, panicking, anxiety, and like, please, you know, let this follow through. So then I apply more liner to the lids, and I'm attaching it to the tail. I'm like so nervous. Okay, so I went back to look at the reference photo, and I noticed that, you know, her liner, like I said, does go up, but the purple and the brown, it doesn't really, you know, touch. So I went back and I cleaned it up, and it ended up making a sharper appearance, which was even better. And then here I'm just attaching the wing to the rest of the eye, and I'm making the liner a little bit more like heavier, you know, a little bit thicker, because in the picture her liner is very like cunty, it's very like, you know, fierce. So this is my imitation of her fierceness in the photo. Next, we're going to go in with white on the waterline, the lower waterline, and I'm sure you guys have a less painful way of having to put white on your lower waterline. But for me, I applied eyeshadow because, you know, a girl's a girl. And then yeah, I apply it all under the waterline. So, like I said, I went back to the reference photo and I noticed after I did all of this, suffering and pain, I realized she didn't put the white all over her lower waterline. So I went back and I just wiped off the white near the front towards the inner corner, and I kept the white in the back. So in the front here, I used that same liquid black eyeliner and I applied it to the corners, the inner corners, the lower waterline inner corners, as you can see right there and right here. And yeah, just doing all of that. Here I'm going back with black and I'm applying it under my lash line. So I'm actually applying it on my face, not on the waterline, but under the waterline. And I do it to both sides. So she creates this fierce effect by applying the black under her white. So that's what I did also. I applied the black under the waterline, under the white. And I'm just going back, making sure it's, nice. Now I used a black mascara and I applied it to the lower lash line. And I'm going back and forth and I'm making sure that it's coated very well. Because like we said in the reference photo, she's giving fierce. So the black has to be fierce. So that's what we're doing. Now I'm applying it to the next eye. Okay. Alrighty, we're finished with that. Okay, so now we're just gonna apply foundation. I'm using a cream-based foundation, and it's giving very much like skin, and I really like that. So I'm applying it all over my face with a foundation brush and making sure all of my face is covered. You guys know I usually say cover the neck, but since I'm wearing a white t-shirt, turtleneck t-shirt, I opted out for that option today. So anyways, I apply powder all over my face to set the foundation. And here I'm going to apply concealer, and I'm applying it very thick and heavy, and I'm making sure to drag out the concealer. So you know where the where the eyebrows end, the tail of the eyebrows, I drag out the concealer all the way to where the tail end of the eyebrows is. So here I did not apply concealer to the forehead or on the jawline like I usually do, because when I was looking at the photo, I noticed that she has most of the light centered right there in her mid-face area. So I'm attempting to mimic that. So I'm not applying concealer in any other way for this look. I use the concealer brush and I blend out the concealer on the sides of the nose, under the nose, and under the mouth. And y'all know, to speed up the process, I go back with a fluffier brush and blend out the concealer that way. And I drag the concealer way towards the ending of the tail of the brows. And I also apply it towards the sides of my nose. And yeah, keep dragging it out. Drag it way out. Don't be afraid to, drag it out. Just keep doing that. And making sure everything is well blended. I also apply it under my mouth. And here I applied like a powder right under where I applied the concealer on my mid face area, and also under my nose and the sides of my nose, so where I applied it. Here I'm panicking because I realized I put the powder right on top of my lower lashes, and I didn't want it to turn white. So I was like, oh my God, let me fix this really quickly. That's why I made that face. And I applied powder everywhere else that I applied concealer. Alright, y'all, so then I go through a couple of brushes because I washed my brushes yesterday, and that fluffier brush, which I use for powder, is still sort of wet, so I opted out for a different brush. So here's the brush I'm using, a contour brush. It's alright, we're just gonna let it work and keep it going. And I just, wiped off all the excess powder under my face, under my eyes, everywhere that I had the powder sitting. Okay, so here, like I said in the photo, she appears to have light. I don't know if it's like the studio light that the doll was under that created that effect. So like I said, I'm imitating that. So I applied a highlighting concealer on top of the regular concealer to create that brightening effect that the doll had. And I'm blending it out, and I only apply it like in the beginning of where under my eye is, not covering my cheek area, none of that, just where the eyes are, focusing right there. Then I also went back and I applied powder after blending it out with the concealer brush. So I'm using powder and just applying the powder to where I applied the highlighting concealer. All right, so I have this new eyeshadow palette that I got, and it's heavy and it's big, and I'm struggling to show you guys the colors, but I think y'all can see it. You guys can see it. So I take those two oranges. So in the picture, she has like a bronze effect. I don't really see her using blush, more like a bronzer. So I went with those oranges to create a warmth effect, and I apply it right under the concealer. She didn't use any contour that I could see, so I just went with bronzer to warm up the face. I did use a little bit of pink, a little bit of blush, because I think she used just a little bit, but it wasn't like, blush blindness that we have. It was like a dab of this, a dab of that. That's what the picture was giving, so that's what I'm doing here. I put a little bit of pink right on top of the orange. And yeah, this is, I'm going really fast and my phone's about to die. It's on 15%. And I'm like freaking out. I'm like, okay, come on, like let's go. So I'm like, who's driving this bus? Anyways, yeah, so I'm applying the blush on top of the bronzer, and I'm applying it lower because that's what she did. Now, I apply contour on my nose because, I applied concealer, and, the concealer kind of hid my nose a little bit. So I wanted to just say, hey, y'all, I still have a nose here. So I applied a little bit of contour, and I blended out with a blending brush to just, show I have a little nose. I have a nose. It's not gone. It's not hidden from all the concealer. Okay, I'm just making sure everything's good. I'm burning up in my room. I have the fan on. Anyways, I applied a brown lip liner, and I did not like this pink so much, but I did use that same brown lip liner, and I went back with a warmer pink to apply it onto my lips because I'm of a darker hue, so that pasty white pink won't work on me. So I went with a pink that's a little bit more warmer and complements my tone much better. I sprayed my face, and this is the final look. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.